On behalf of the American Legion, Post 330, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 2524, the Culpeper Minutemen chapters of the Sons and Daughters of the American Revolution, and the staff of Culpeper National Cemetery, I'd like to welcome you to our annual Veterans Day observance. As the American Legion National Commander recently said, we will always mourn the veterans who are no longer with us, but we will also forever celebrate their lives on Veterans Day and every day. I would ask if you would please stand now as I invite Chaplain Mark Grapin of the American Legion to come forward for the invocation. And please remain standing for the posting of the colors, the national anthem, and the Pledge of Allegiance.
I wonder why it is we gather at cemeteries on Veterans Day, a remarkably different day from Memorial Day. And the answer becomes self-evident as you look around at the names that are carved on each of the stones that are here. They're a part of that 1%. They're a part of our fellowship, of our comradeship, of those who have fallen in the field of battle and those that have fallen beyond. And so we gather here because, as Nick Freitas would say, they're our buddies. And we come to fellowship, and we come to honor. In the book of Isaiah, the Christian Bible, the Lord calls, "Whom shall we send?" And Isaiah responds, "Here am I, Lord, send me." And for each of those that are standing today in uniform, each of those who are laying in rest behind us, each rose their hand and said, "Here am I, send me." What a joy it is to share this day in memory. We blow taps and it's not quite right. Mostly because the band probably doesn't know Hava Nagila. But why wouldn't we rejoice this day? Why wouldn't we celebrate? And why wouldn't we honor our veterans, a part of the 1% who are continuing to give? So let's go to the Lord in prayer this morning. And let's ask him to join us here. And Heavenly Father, by the many names we call you, Yahweh, dear Lord, thank you so much for this opportunity to bow and to kneel before you. Thank you so much for this gathering of those who have come from across the country and just around the corner. We come to be in fellowship with our friends. We come to be in fellowship with other veterans and those who appreciate and love our veterans. We thank you so much for those that have gathered this morning. We ask now that you place upon our hearts the imperative of fellowship. Thank you, Lord, as you prepare our hearts, our minds, and souls for the service in the moments ahead. And they all said, Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we move on, I wanted to take a moment to recognize a few people here today. First of all, Lynette Parker and the staff of the VA Cemetery. Thank you all. They did all the work of setting it up and doing all the great job that they do to make this place look a wonderful place. The Honor Guard who posted the colors from the VFW. In addition to that, they also provided the sound system, and they also set up our gun salute, which you'll hear from later. We also have the Culpeper Minutemen chapter of the Sons of the American Revolution. And I also would like to recognize the Eastern View High School Band under the direction of Mr. Adam Roach, which is providing the music today, as they do each Veterans Day. And even though today is a Saturday, these young musicians are here today because they want to be, and because they appreciate how important a day it is. Let's give these young musicians a round of applause. We also have the central chapter of the American Red Cross out of Charlottesville here, who are providing water. And another group of young people who are out helping today is the American Heritage Girls Troop, VA 0412, who are passing out your programs. This group also leads the local Wreaths Across America effort. And if you're not familiar, that group works to place a wreath on every veteran at the cemetery for the holidays. Past years, they haven't been able to do a wreath on every cemetery, so they're here today, hoping to get some more wreaths purchased. And on behalf of the American Legion, Sharon, if you would come forward. The American Legion is presenting a check for $5,000 to Wreaths Across America, and hope that we move farther to get all of those headstones with a wreath. So like we said, today is Veterans Day. I've talked to several people about that, and I'm hoping that nobody will be offended if next year we move this to more of a celebration. Veterans Day is different than Memorial Day. Memorial Day is to remember those that we have lost. Veterans Day is a celebration to thank those veterans who've given their time and sometimes their life, but their family time, their commitment has been unwavering to do what they've been asked to do. And so we want to celebrate that self-sacrifice and their commitment to their country. And so if you have ideas about that, I'd love to hear from you. If you're offended, please let me know. Maybe we won't do that, but that's just what I'm thinking, to move this into more of a celebration, to get more of a sense of community among our veterans, to get together and have that camaraderie that's so hard to replace when you leave the military. As we looked at the census data recently in Culpeper County, we saw that the largest group of veterans in the county are Gulf War era veterans. And if you look at the suicide data, they're also the largest group that's committing suicide. 22 veterans a day commit suicide. So we really want to reach out and try to get them back into the sense of community where they have that comrade that they can talk to about whatever they experienced in combat, where they can tell those stories and lift up some of the things that we've been through that maybe would make most people cry, but for us, we can find a way to laugh about it. So please remember that next year when you say, hey, why aren't we doing this? This is what I'm thinking. If you have concerns about that, please let me know. So when I mentioned the suicide, I wanted to also let you know that on the back of your program, it talks a little bit about the American Legion's Be the One initiative. There's also a separate flyer there about our Be the One initiative. It's really geared at whatever we can do to save one veteran's life. It only takes one, and it asks you to be the one as well as us. Be that one that's willing to listen, be that one that doesn't judge, and be that one to help them get the resources they need. I'm also the service officer for the American Legion, so if there's anything I can do to help in that, please don't hesitate to reach out. It's okay to not be okay. So back to the band. In honor of all the roles that the American military services have played in defense of this great nation, the Eastern View High School Band will now play a medley of the service's songs. Veterans or their family members in the audience are invited to stand as their service song is played. It is now my honor to introduce our keynote speaker for today. I know Nick has been talking a lot lately, and I have his official bio, and I'll read it here in a minute. But I wanted to be grateful for the fact that Nick was reelected, because he is a veteran, and there are very few veterans in our state House and Senate right now. And he is a member of, and it's not on his bio, but he is a member of the Veterans Caucus, I believe is the, yeah. So a lot of this good legislation that we've seen recently that come out, and for retired military members, that up to $40,000 of their income will be excluded from income tax. We have Nick to thank for that, among others. But so I really want to appreciate him for that. So thank you. So Nick Freitas is a member of the Virginia House of Delegates representing the new 62nd District. Prior to being elected, Nick served in the Army with the 82nd Airborne, the 25th Infantry, and served 2 tours in Iraq as a Green Beret with 1st Special Forces Group. Elected to the House in 2015, he currently serves on the Public Safety, Education, Finance, and Courts of Justice committees, and is the subcommittee chairman for the Subcommittee on Higher Education and Public Safety, so-called the Gun Sub. Nick lives in Culpeper with his wife Tina and 3 children, Lily, Luke, and Allie, 2 dogs, 3 cats, 20 chickens, 1 peacock, 4 peahens, and 4 goats. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Nick Freitas.
Thank you very much, Lori. And for those of you who know how chicken math works, it's much more than 20 at this point. But, well, listen, thank you to everyone for being here. Thank you to all the veterans for being here. I know I'm standing in between you and lunch at the Legion, so I'm not going to be long in my remarks. But when it's Veterans Day, I like to tell at least a couple war stories, a couple fun veteran stories, and then talk a little bit about kind of what the day means for me. My oldest daughter, it's actually her birthday today. She's my firstborn. I remember when she was born at a Tripler Army Medical Center in Hawaii, and my wife gave birth, and she was getting some rest, and so I was holding Lily, and so I did what all good fathers did. I immediately introduced her to John Wayne, and we sat there in the hospital watching El Dorado while Mom got a little bit of a break. But she recently got engaged. Great young man, very happy. And we took her dress shopping, and she said, you know, I like all these dresses. They're really pretty, but I think I'd like to wear Mommy's. And I said, okay. And this is, by the way, if I get a little bit of choked up, I've found that what is the age where a tough guy starts to become a weepy little sap? It's around your 40s, in case anyone's wondering. When your kids start getting older. But she goes, I want to wear Mommy's dress. I said, well, what do you want me to wear? She goes, Daddy, I want you to wear your blues. Now understand something. The last time those dress blues and that dress were in a church, I was getting married. And I'm not 152 pounds anymore. But I dutifully got it out. And I remember the words of the nice lady who was tailoring the dress blues back in 1999 when I first got them to get married. And she asked me what a private was doing buying dress blues. And I said, well, ma'am, I'm getting married, and I always wanted to get married in uniform. And she looked at me and said, well, that's nice, sweetheart. I'm gonna leave plenty of room in this to let out as you mature. And thank God she did, because I'm not saying it fits well, but as long as I don't make any crazy dance moves, I think I'll be able to work through it. But as I was bringing out my dress blues that I hadn't looked at in a while, and I started to look at the various accoutrements on there and patches, and thinking back of my time in military service, I also started to realize that pretty soon here it's going to be my son taking the oath. And it's interesting. Because when it's us, it just seems like a great idea. And then all of a sudden, when it's your child, you go through this mixture of thoughts and ideas of both being proud and also being a concerned parent. And so I did. I started thinking about what were the reasons that I joined. And knowing and talking to many of the people in the audience, I think we have some similar stories and some similar reasons, but I've started to notice that the reasons that I joined seems to be clashing with the Hollywood narrative sometimes of why people join and why people fight. And I've noticed it's been over the last couple of decades, but especially recently, the Hollywood version is well, they fight for the person to their left and right. They don't fight for a country. They don't fight for a flag. They fight for the person to their left and right. Yeah, that's crap. And the reason why it is because it's not because I didn't fight for the person on my left or my right. It's not because you didn't fight for the person on your left and your right. But I remembered something. When I first walked into the recruiting office, I had no idea who the person on my left and right was going to be one day. I had never met them. I didn't know who they were. So why did I walk in? Well, I walked in part because I remember being a young man going into my grandfather's den and him telling me stories about how when he was 16, he threatened to run away if his father didn't sign up and let him join the Navy at 16 after Pearl Harbor. And he would tell me about his service in the Navy in the Pacific. And we'd bring out the photo albums and he'd tell me stories and he wouldn't tell me some others. And I asked him about those once and he goes, well, Nick, there's just certain things we don't talk about. But he was proud of his service. And most of all, he was proud of his country. What got me into the recruiting office, and I think what probably got most of you into the recruiting office, was that I do love my country. There is something special and unique about this place. And it's fascinating that we don't swear an oath to temporary occupants of political office. Yeah, we swear an oath to be able to follow the lawful orders of the President of the United States, as is appropriate. But we swear to the Constitution. That's what we're upholding. That's what we're defending. We're defending a way of life. We're defending a set of ideas that were first laid out in the Declaration of Independence. Margaret Thatcher was right when she said Europe was created by history, but America was created by philosophy. It was created by an idea. And I wonder if the reason why some of the people in entertainment and academia and sometimes the media try to boil it all down to, well, they just fought for the person to the left and the right, is because they are the ones that have lost faith with what our country is, what it was, and what it can be. And so they try to reduce our service into something they think they can understand. Well, they didn't fight for the country. They didn't fight for the Constitution. What did they fight? They fought for their friends. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, we did. But that wasn't the only reason. And I'm not going to let them reduce it to that. When I look at the concept, the idea that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We read these now and we take them for granted, and we're only able to do so because of the men and women that came before us to ensure that we could live in a country that believed it, for what it was a foregone conclusion. But at that moment, when those words were written down, when they were spoken over Congress, when they were read in 1,000 town halls all across the colonies, that was truly revolutionary. When they wrote in the Constitution that we were to create a more perfect union, it's because they understood that it wasn't perfect. And that we won't see perfection this side of heaven, but that we are all made better and the republic is made better by people that are willing to strive to that purpose. And the people that ultimately create the security and provide the freedom for that striving are the people that served in uniform. And Hollywood and everyone else doesn't get to take that away from us. It's ours. They may be able to tell our stories because they live under a blanket of protection that we provide, but the stories are ours. And we deserve to have our time to tell them the way we want them told, from our perspective, from the people that were there. And the truth for me is very simple. I love my country. I have never once thought it was perfect. But I have always believed that at its heart it is truly noble. And yes, bad decisions get made where people were fallible. It's going to happen. No country can say anything different. But ours has stood as a beacon of hope and freedom for people all across the world. And if you don't believe that, then go take a look at all of the people that are risking life and limb to try to get here just for the opportunity to live in America and be a part of one of the greatest experiments in civilization and human history. So as I consider my own son taking the oath and what that could mean for him, what it can mean for our family, I'm concerned, but I'm proud. I'll end on this. Every once in a while, somebody with very good intention will come up to me around Veterans Day and say, well, Nick, I want to thank you. You know, you served in the military, you're a hero. And I always stop them. And I say, I appreciate that, but no, I'm not. I knew heroes. Some of them didn't come back. That term doesn't apply to me. I did my job. I am honored that the people I have served with have told me that if they had to do it again, they'd be happy to go with me, and that's enough. I don't want the term hero misapplied to me. The term veteran is sufficient in honor for me. And all I really wanted, all I've ever wanted, was to be worthy of the men and women that came before me, and to hopefully provide inspiration in my own service to those that would come after, so that they would feel the same way we do when they see that flag and when they hear that anthem. So thank you. It is an honor to be among your ranks. It is an honor to call you friends. It is an honor to call you comrades. And my generation's hope is that all of you that came before will look upon our service as worthy of what you did, because you were the heroes we grew up with. You are the ones that personified the honor that we sought in our own service. And it is truly a blessing to be among you and to live and to serve in this country. Thank you very much.
As the band plays, various organizations will now step forward to place wreaths at the monument to your left.
I get these texts from the department commander of the American Legion. Actually, my wife, Sonny Dickerson, is the department commander this year. She still texts me, and she so wishes she could be here to share this with us. We would have done her very proud today. I don't mean to speak of her in the past tense. She's up north at another ceremony and spread just a little bit thin. But what a joy it is that we come before the Lord today to hear great remarks from those that have served before us and those that are still serving, for those that honor those for their service and for the events of the day. We come before you, Lord, in prayer, in closing this ceremony and thanking you for the opportunity to bow and to worship before you, to answer your call, whom shall we send, and to answering that call of duty. Thank you for doing it over and over again as we serve a mighty God. We say thank you now and ask that we return safely to our homes and the celebrations of the day, knowing all has been well in our absence upon our arrival. In your merciful and blessed name we ask these things. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us here today to celebrate veteran service to our country. I want to make sure that you're all aware that we are providing lunch at the American Legion today. We've got some scouts out there to help serve, so please come out and welcome and really encourage this generation of young men and maybe a few females. We're working on that still, as they become the great citizens who will lead our country in the future. So thank you very much, and please enjoy the rest of your day.